In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business, as well as covering some brand new features that give us a bit of an insight into the future. Don't feel like you need to make notes or take it all in straight away, as we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar and a follow-up fact sheet later on. Also, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please do feel free to drop them into the Q&A box at any time. I'll be trying my best to keep an eye on those and answer them as we go along, but if I miss any, there's also dedicated time for questions at the end of the webinar. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. In today's webinar, we'll be looking at noise suppression and music detection in Teams. There's a few little recaps in there of things that you might have missed as we've gone along, and there's also a brand new feature for music detection that we'll be covering. We'll then be looking at single-click switching between Microsoft 365 accounts. This is a huge thing that I know a lot of people have been waiting for a very long time. So a lot of people are going to be very excited to see that they now have the ability to do single-click switching between their accounts. So we'll be covering what that is and how you go about doing that. Then we'll be looking at updates to presenter modes in Teams, followed by a new chat filter in Teams. And then we'll be looking at accessibility tools that work across the Microsoft Office apps. Finally, we'll be taking a look at what you can do next to perhaps implement some of these things within your organisation, or next steps that you'd need to take if you want to progress your use of Teams even further. So for those of you who haven't joined one of these webinars before, I just wanted to do a quick introduction to Bedrock. My name is Jennifer Bench and I am the marketing manager at Bedrock. Bedrock is an IT managed service provider and a Microsoft Gold partner. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. This includes Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Azure, SharePoint, etc. All of those apps that you probably use on a daily basis. We're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is absolutely critical. We work with organisations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK, as well as those who have to comply with very strict governance and accreditation requirements due to the industries that they work in. The most important thing we want to achieve, no matter what your organisation does, is to help your business to grow better. We do this with the help of our 8 rocks. These rocks, as you can see on the screen here now, are data, skills, investment, backup, strategy, security, quality of service, and collaboration. It's a combination of all of these 8 rocks that make a brilliant IT strategy and therefore able to support a brilliant business strategy as well. The collaboration rock is our focus for today's webinar. Many people have Teams and other Microsoft 365 apps in their business, but they're perhaps not using them to their full capacity. It's our job to make sure that you're aware of all the different features available to you that can really change the way you work on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, let's take a look at our first item. So, as I said, I wanted to do a quick overview of the entirety of sharing content with audio in Teams before moving on to the brand new features. So, on the left here, you can see a screenshot that you get when you share some content in a Teams meeting. If you wanted to share a video with voiceover or music with other people within your meeting, this allows everyone to watch simultaneously without any echoes or sync issues. So, in order to share content from your computer with sound, select the share content option as you normally would at the top right of your meeting window, and then just click the slider there that says include computer sound. I've just put a yellow highlight around there. When you share, all audio from your computer, including notification sounds, will be included in the meeting. So if you know that you're planning ahead and you will be using a video content that has some sound that you want to share, it's probably a good idea in advance just to make sure that you've got your notifications muted for that meeting, just so that you're not getting those annoying ping sounds that everyone can hear throughout your presentation. On the right, the screenshots there are just an example of what you'll need to do if you're using a Mac as opposed to Windows. You'll need to install a driver for the first time you include computer audio in your Teams meeting. Just follow a simple wizard and click install or update. It only takes about 10 seconds for the installation to complete. Whether you're using Mac or Windows, you can also choose to include sound or stop including sound after you've already begun sharing your screen. You'll just see a little logo that allows you to select includes computer sound or switch it off in the sharing controls near the top of the window. So perhaps you've already shown your video that has the sound included, you don't need it anymore, you can then switch it off. New this month is the ability to share the system audio in the same way, but when you're using meetings on the web. So the example that I just showed was in the Teams desktop app, but you're now able to also do this in the Teams web app as well. Web users can now include the audio when sharing their desktop or window during a Teams meeting. You can find this setting in the Share Content Settings tab. In fact, I've just seen a question come in actually, which you preempted that. So yeah, this is the new ability to share the sound across both the Teams desktop app and the Teams web app. So the ability to do that sharing sound alongside your content is the same across both of those now. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Let's take a look next at reducing background noise. So we've looked at how to share sound when you want additional sound in your meeting. But perhaps if you're working somewhere a bit busier, you've got background noise in a coffee shop or at home, you might want to make sure that no one can hear the background noise that's going on around you. You can change the setting at any time. So if you go to your main settings, you can change it and it will carry over to your next meeting or call. So to do this, select your profile picture at the top right of your Teams and click and select settings. And then you can see in the menu screen grab that I've got on the screen right now, all you need to do is select the devices option on the left-hand side, and then under noise suppression, select an option. This will give you a drop-down menu. The options that you'll have available to you are auto, which is actually the Teams default option. This is where the Teams app decides on the best level of noise suppression based on the local noise around you. You can also choose high noise suppression, which suppresses all background noise that isn't speech, and low, which suppresses low levels of persistent background noise, such as a computer fan or an air conditioner. You can also completely turn the noise suppression off. So use this setting if you're using a really high fidelity microphone in a very low noise environment. You can also choose your noise suppression settings in the Teams mobile app. So to do this, just select more options in your meeting controls and select device settings, and you'll get exactly the same menu. Under noise suppression, just select an option from that auto, high, low or off. New to Teams this month is the ability to detect music automatically. So you can see the purple bar along the bottom there, where it says music is detected and may be suppressed. The previously released noise suppression is now available by default for most users, as we said earlier. But the machine learning based noise suppression considers any non-speech signal picked up by the microphone as noise which it should be suppressing. So it's listening out for your voice, and any other noise apart from that, it's trying to block out. To avoid suppressing music in the background where you might want it to be audible, Microsoft have now built this machine learning based music detector, which will inform the user whenever music is present through a notification, which is that purple bar you can see on the screen now. This will give the end user the choice whether music is indeed an unwanted background noise. So for example, if you're in a coffee shop and there's some music playing there, or if the music is actually a desired signal. For example, if you're having a hybrid event where some people are in a room where you want some background noise to be heard, and you also want the virtual attendees to be able to hear that background music as well. So this machine learning, it is literally doing that. It's learning, it's finding out which bits of the noise in the background are music and which are unwanted noise, and giving you the choice whether you block out that background noise or not. Okay, moving on from the noise suppression and audio options. As I said in the introduction, this is something many people have been waiting a very long time for. the ability to switch between Microsoft 365 accounts. As we keep saying in these webinars, hybrid work is more common now than ever. This means that more people than ever are using their devices for both work and personal work at the same time, or perhaps trying to switch between the two and manage everything from the single device. They need these devices to be able to access a combination of all these work and personal accounts, and at the moment that's quite tricky. You're in this webinar to find out updates about Microsoft 365, which means you're probably already using a range of Microsoft 365 apps to get your work done. Users can have multiple work accounts and personal accounts to achieve different goals, ranging from organising a work meeting, collaborating with an external organisation, or even keeping your personal or family diary up to date. Currently, users can only work from a single account inside of a Microsoft 365 web app. And to use a different account, you must either sign out or use an in-private browser window or a different browser device altogether, which is all just quite a faff, really, isn't it? It's trying to organise getting the right window open for the right calendar, the right web app, what work are you doing? You want to be able to switch seamlessly between the two, and up until now that just hasn't been possible. Soon, Microsoft 365 web users will no longer need workarounds to use multiple work and personal accounts while using any of the Microsoft 365 web apps. Users will now be able to sign into multiple accounts in the same browser and seamlessly switch between the accounts without needing to sign out and sign back in again. We're expecting this to be rolled out between April and June is the dates we've been given. And this will be rolled out into worldwide environments of Office.com, Word, Excel, PowerPoint for the web, Outlook for the web, OneDrive, SharePoint, and the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So if you've been waiting for that ability to switch between your accounts, that is coming very soon, hopefully. Account switching in Microsoft 365 web apps is helpful in many scenarios. Based on past customer conversations, here are two of the scenarios that we believe account switching might be able to help you simplify tasks. Example number one, perhaps you're working as a consultant and you will have your employer work account as well as separate accounts for any other organisations that you're providing support for. Previously, you would need to use a combination of a regular browser and in-private browsing to collaborate across the separate organisations. With this new switching solution, you'll be able to switch between your employee account and any other organisation accounts within the same browser. So you don't need to have so many windows open to do the same work that you're already doing. Scenario number two is perhaps you're using Microsoft web apps to make personal plans that you don't want linked to your work account. You'll now be able to easily switch between your personal and work accounts to complete any tasks that you might need to do. To get started with account switching, access any of the web apps such as Office.com, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneDrive for the web, SharePoint, and Microsoft 365, and click on the account manager located in the top right corner. There you can add a new account or switch to an existing signed-in account in the browser. Upon a successful add or switch, the page will refresh with content from the new account in the same browser tab. So it won't open a new window for you or a new tab, it will literally refresh in that same browser tab. So you will visibly switch between one account and another. While a user can add multiple accounts in Microsoft 365 web app, only one account will be active per app at any one time. So say you've got Word open in your personal account, you wouldn't also be able to have the exact same Word open in your work account at the same time. If a user ends up with two or more browser apps open with different accounts, users will be notified to refresh the tabs with the non-active accounts. So you'll see the little pop-up window that's appeared in this screenshot here. You'll just get the notification to refresh, and it will refresh onto the account that has most recently been logged into. So it's not having loads of different windows open, it's just keeping everything clean and easy, one account at a time. It's important to note that each account will continue to only have access to the data that they have permissions for. There is absolutely no mixing of data going on between different accounts or different organisations. There's any of the security that you've got in place already isn't going to change because of this update. This new feature is simply to reduce the friction users face when wanting to work across different accounts and organisations. So let's have a look. I've seen some questions pop up that I would just try and cover while we're on this section here. Is this in Microsoft Edge only? No, absolutely not. This is available across any browser that you might want to be using. So I realise why you might have asked that question is that you can create different user accounts within Microsoft Edge already, which you can kind of set with your own settings to have work or personal tabs. But this is in fact your entire login is completely separate. So it will be in any browser that you already use that you log into any of those Microsoft web apps with. You can use that browser and add in all of the accounts that you may wish to use and have them signed in and available to switch to. So it's not purely Microsoft Edge, it is across all of the any browser that you're already using. If you have MFA, do you need to sign in every time you move across different accounts? No, the idea is that this should stay signed in for you. So once you have initially signed in with your multi-factor authentication credentials, it should then remember that for you, and you should be able to switch with a simple one click. As I said, this is rolling out currently, so it remains to be seen how smooth and slick that is, but that is what we've been told. It should just be simple one click. Your credentials are saved on there, and it should be able to just be a simple one click process that switches you between those accounts. And the next question, could we manage multiple client tenants whilst using the new account switching feature? Yep, that's the idea. So you should be able to log into multiple different accounts, whether you're in your own employer organisation or with any other organisation tenants that you manage. You should be able to switch between those very seamlessly. So like I said, I can see from the questions here that people have definitely taken notice of this, and they have been waiting for this a long time. So this could be a really big development that could make all of our lives much easier, I would say. So yeah, let's perhaps do a refresher on this next month, see how it's gone, see if the rollout's in place, and we can talk further about it then. Let's move on for now. Updates to presenter mode in Teams, and I've put in brackets again because we seem to have one of these every month at the moment. What would a what's new in Microsoft 365 be without an update to presenter mode in Teams? This one is fairly simple. This is controls to move and resize the presenter video. This is a new enhancement to the presenter mode feature that continues to enable engaging presentations. Now a presenter can choose whether to show up on the left side or the right side of the content and resize their video feed while automatically adjusting content size accordingly. This can be applied to all modes, all presenter modes on desktop or in the web app. If you're sharing your presenter mode in ways such as the standout presenter mode, side by side, and reporter mode, it works across all of those. So you can see fairly simple at the top there. It's just the buttons to choose whether you're on the left side or the right side, and also the size of presenter in front of the content as well. So fairly simple, but there if you need it. Next up, we've got updated chat filter in Teams. Again, this is another really simple feature, but one that I'm already using. Since I actually put this into the PowerPoint to talk about today, I've been using it quite a bit. This is a really handy new feature to allow you to find chats more easily in Teams. You can filter out all the meeting chats and just focus on one-to-one or group chats, for example. So in the screenshot on the left-hand side, you'll see there's a drop down there that gives you the options of filtering for unread, chats, meetings, or muted messages. And then on the right hand side in that screen grab, I've used that filter to show me just pure chats that don't involve any of the meeting chats. Because I don't know about you, but if you're in sort of 4 or 5 meetings a day, your chat list suddenly fills up with so many meeting chats that don't always even have any useful content in them. and then you can't find the chats that you need if you're talking to an individual or a group. So this is a really handy new feature, I think, and it will just allow you to quickly filter through and then scroll down and find the person or group that you want to talk to far easier. So to do this, in the chat search bar at the top of the page, click the 3 lines followed by the ellipsis, and you'll see a drop-down selection that's the one that's shown in the left-hand image. Pick the filter option you want, and there you go. Easy as that, but easy, simple to use. Definitely will be using it myself. Hope you will too. Okay, moving on now to accessibility tools for Microsoft Office. So this is a bit of a recap. There's some information here that we haven't covered before in these webinars, but it's a useful opportunity just to look at all the accessibility tools that are now available for you to use. The accessibility checker is available to use in Outlook, Word, PowerPoint and Excel, and it checks your email messages, documents, slides and spreadsheets for accessibility issues while you work. This way you can make sure your Microsoft Office content is easy for people with disabilities to read and edit. This could be anything from making sure your images have alternative text to checking colour contrasts for people who perhaps have colour blindness issues. To be notified of accessibility issues in your Word, Excel and PowerPoint documents as you continue working on them, just click the Keep Accessibility Checker Running While I Work checkbox, and it will just pop up with a sidebar that you can see. I've inserted a screen grab on the right there, a sidebar of any issues that might help you out to make your document more accessible. So on the right of the screen, that's the screen grab from PowerPoint, and it just shows you different options that you might need to address before sending your document out. So as I said, it shows you missing alternative text, slide titles, reading orders, all kinds of different suggestions that just might make things that little bit easier for people within your organisation. The accessibility bar in your status bar will then appear once you've clicked the tick box in the accessibility checker, and that will allow you to open the accessibility checker at any time by selecting that status bar option. In Outlook, it is slightly different because that accessibility checker checkbox isn't available. Instead, the accessibility checker runs automatically in the background. So you might have already noticed this. The screenshot at the bottom there that I've put a yellow box around, that's something that will pop up in your emails before you send them, just giving you pointers of how you might make that email a bit easier for other people to read. So that accessibility bar will just be shown in the message window, letting you review any accessibility issues before you send the message. So those are kind of different accessibility helpers and pointers for people who might have perhaps visual impairments, but there's also tools available for enhanced focus. We've covered a number of features over the past few months that help users focus on their work and allow them to be more productive in a way that suits them. And these are useful capabilities for anyone, but are especially important for people with cognitive differences like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia. And I was surprised to learn actually in doing the research for this that group of people by some estimates makes up as much as 40% of the population. So there's some really easy to use features here that help enhance focus and could make a big difference to those people who need a little bit of extra help with their focus and productivity. So a recap of some of these features that, as I said, we have covered over the last few months include muting notifications. You can see in the screenshot on the right there, either for all meetings or on a per meeting basis, just to really focus on what's being said in that meeting, not getting distracted by different notifications popping up. There's also the ability to utilise Microsoft Viva to auto book focus time into your diary and get insights to help reach your work related goals. I do actually use this quite a bit. There's I just get a weekly email from Microsoft Viva, which allows you to auto book some time to focus, and it will just automatically put that in your diary when it can see you've got clear space, and allow you to have some time in your week just to really focus without getting distracted by meetings and emails. Also, another feature that some of your team might find useful is the ability to hide their own video in Teams meetings. This was something we covered in the webinar a couple of months ago. having your own video in your face all times in a meeting can be quite overwhelming for some people. So being able to hide that, just right click and hide it away, means that they're able to focus much more easily on the meeting as well. So as I said, you can look for some of these features in our previous recorded webinars, either on the Bedrock events page or on our YouTube channel. You can catch up there. So we've covered a few new features there, from noise suppression and audio settings to the ability to switch your Microsoft 365 accounts, and then those new accessibility features as well. If any of those sound of interest, or you're thinking perhaps you're not making the most use out of the Microsoft 365 apps that you already have in place, Bedrock do have a simple way to gain board level consensus on what you need to do, what's important, what can be fixed right now, and where you perhaps need a more strategic plan. The strategic IT review will give you the facts you need to make a positive change, whether that's to drive adoption of new technology, hire an internal lead, brief a technology provider who could be Bedrock or could be someone else, or renegotiate with a current supplier. We're really good at untangling all the messy stuff that can sometimes seem like too much to deal with, perhaps if you've got a lot on your plate, if you don't have as much support as you might like, and is perhaps just too much for you to deal with on top of your day-to-day work. So do feel free to get in touch by replying to any of our emails if that sounds like it could be of use to you, or even if you just want to talk about a very specific part of this webinar, I'm happy to chat about that. Just send me a reply to an email that I'll send you out with the recording later today. We do have a little bit more time left if anyone's got any other questions. I realise we answered quite a few of those as we went along, but if anyone's thought of any others they'd like to ask, then please do feel free to pop those into the question box now. Or again, if you think of anything after this webinar is finished, please do feel free to send me an email and I'll get back to you, or get one of our experts to get back to you with a full answer as well. While I'm leaving that question box open, let me just let you know about our next What's New webinar, which will be in June. So Cara, who's on the webinar with me, if you could just drop in the link, so you've done it. Our next What's New webinar will be in June, and it'll be on the 9th, which we always try to do the first Thursday of the month, but it's bank holiday in the first week of June. Register for your place now using that link that's in the chat box or on the Bedrock website. The link will be there from now on until the 9th of June. Obviously, feel free to share it with anyone else you think might benefit from attending these webinars too. So without further ado, I will say goodbye for this month, and thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you all again in June. As I said, if you think of any other questions you'd like to ask, or anything you would like to know or see included in future webinars, please do feel free to send me an email, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you very much, everyone.